my God!
I heard you know what the horse flew.
Oh, no!
Really has them locked down.
I think so. I think they're in love. I think they're in love.
Politics, speaking.
No, I really do think they're in love. I have a big crush on him, though. I'll tell you that much.
Did you find him?
Don't have a crush on him now. No, I didn't.
We never imagined we would stumble upon a trail this disturbing, but tonight we drag it into the fluorescents for everyone to see. Picture a young, magnetic R&B powerhouse named Blu Cantrell strutting across early 2000s stages with that soaring hook, "Oops," flashing smiles even the most jaded A&R reps couldn't ignore. Now picture that same starlit van, vanishing almost overnight, her glittering future sealed behind a black velvet curtain nobody dared to pull back. Why? Because, whispers say, her very existence threatened the biggest power couple brand of our era, Jay-Z and Beyonce, and the legacy they were plotting long before the world learned the name Blue Ivy.
Beyonce and Jay-Z will do anything to destroy anyone who speaks out against them.
We can still feel the hairs rise when industry veterans lean in and mutter, Blue didn't just disappear, she was pushed. The suggestion alone feels explosive, a methodical erasure of a rival voice to safeguard a billion-dollar dynasty, perhaps even to conceal the true origins of a child tied to that dynasty's image. And every time we replay the footage of Beyoncé's infamous folding baby bump, the unexpected buckle of fabric that made the whole internet gasp, we wonder whether that fabric was hiding more than a growing belly. Could it have been hiding someone else's secret altogether? Before we dig up contracts, missing masters, and frantic 2 a.m. street corner meltdowns, we need to linger on the silence itself, the eerie hush that settled over Blu's career around 2004. We all remember how streaming didn't yet rule, TikTok hadn't been invented, and radio programmers were still kingmakers. 1 minute, Blu Cantrell's buttery vocals saturated every station. The next, her name evaporated from playlists, tour rosters, and award show seat maps. We kept checking Vibe, BET, the early gossip blogs, nothing. It felt deliberate, like someone slammed an iron gate shut and threw away the only key.
Oh, I'm really selective about it. What? Really? I really like him, though. And I don't care who he's dating. I always had a crush on him, though.
If he came in right now, we were all not here.
What?
I'm just saying. You're in New York.
Yeah, okay, and what
You ran into him and everything was right. Did you make that play?
Now add the most volatile rumor of them all, that Blue Ivy Carter, the heiress of the Carter Empire, might not be Beyoncé's biological daughter at all. That behind the glamorous maternity shoots and hospital lockdowns, there lurked an unspoken narrative, a coerced surrogacy or a silenced pregnancy involving Blu Cantrell, the very woman whose stage name echoes through that child's. We've heard the skeptics, the eye rolls, the snarky tweets, but when timelines align a little too neatly, when witnesses remember beach vacations where Jay-Z and Blu grew closer, when gossip hosts recall Blu dodging the "did you ever kiss him" question with nervous laughter, we can't help but wonder who benefited most from pushing her voice off the radio dial for good.
They can understand, they've been they've been there before, they're on my level.
Like even if you call Kim while you're here in town?
Oh, I love Eve, I love Kim. I get along with everybody.
Do you call them though?
Yes, Trina's my girl, Missy's my girl, Eve's my girl, Kim's my girl, Fox's. I get along with everybody. If you don't like me,
But Blu Cantrell's ascent once read like every music industry fairy tale they still peddle in boardrooms. Born Tiffany Cobb, she hustled as a background singer for the likes of Diddy, another mogul now buried in legal avalanches, and finally blasted onto the scene in 2001 with the album So Blue. It ripped through the Billboard rankings, bagged 2 Grammy nods, and proved that a spirited chorus about retail revenge could dominate pop culture for an entire summer. The machine revved up. Magazine covers, late-night performances, European press junkets, the whole shimmering circus. But we can chart the moment the engine sputtered. Sometime after early press tours for her second album, Bittersweet, plain numbers, airplay, sales, guest slots started plummeting. Even casual fans whispered that her label, Arista, stopped cutting checks for marketing. Publicists who once tripped over themselves to book Blu on morning shows suddenly claimed scheduling conflicts. Behind the curtain, insiders swear Jay-Z was spending more and more downtime with Blu Miami yacht weekends, Hamptons mansions, Diddy's private parties. Photogs caught the body language, eyes lingering a little too long. Inside jokes traded like secrets. The rumor mill churned harder. Romance, chemistry, maybe something more serious.
You know, when you're early in your career, you feel that you have to listen. And when you buck, they buck harder.
Then came a bomb drop on live radio that still crackles like static every time we replay the clip. Wendy Williams, at the height of early 2000s shock jock bravado, stared Blu down and asked point blank, "Have you ever kissed Jay-Z romantically?" Blu's answer? Not a denial, just a coy giggle, a half smile, and that infuriatingly smooth dodge. In the gossip world, a dodge might as well be a confession. And that same season, Beyoncé was polishing her solo crown, prepping to launch Dangerously in Love. Two trajectories on an inevitable collision course.
I know so much on how you got where you are, how you stepped on many people.
We've read the backstage whispers claiming Jay-Z found Beyoncé, then barely 21, easier to mold. Blu, a woman with her own opinions, couldn't be molded. She once quipped to a UK journalist, "If you have issues with your man, address it with him. Don't take it out on the girl." That's one of the very few on-record statements she made about the rumored love triangle. And it still stings like fresh perfume in an open wound. Did that line mark her for erasure? Some executives quietly suggest yes. Betray the script and watch your budget vanish. As we sift through dusty contracts, one detail pops like neon. The lawyer representing Blu during her Arista negotiations allegedly also had undisclosed ties to the very executives determining her fate. Conflict of interest? That phrase feels too polite. We smell a trap, because right after that, Blu's option for a third album evaporated, merchandising deals crumbled, and even mid-tier radio programmers were told, per one anonymous PR coordinator, leave her off the playlist rotation. Our industry runs on whispers that powerful, one memo, zero signatures, career over.
How you guys ended Carrie Hilson's career because she said something about it.
Meanwhile, Beyoncé and Jay-Z's imagery tightened into perfection. Every magazine splash looked like it cost a small nation's GDP. Branding gurus hammered out the Bonnie and Clyde mythos, paparazzi shots turned into fashion lookbooks. Yet on the ground floor, producers started noticing an odd déjà vu. Melodies reminiscent of Blu, tropical rhythms that felt like Breathe but sleeker. When Blu's Western-themed Roundup video hit cable channels, Beyoncé and Jay-Z soon dropped 3 Bonnie and Clyde, heavy on desert aesthetics and outlaw romance. Coincidence? We roll our eyes. Then the timeline lurches. Late 2004, Blu Cantrell slips off the radar. Mid-2011, Beyoncé sits down for that Australian interview. The silk maternity dress folds strangely, and the internet spins on its axis. Conspiracy charts light up. Blu disappears. Beyoncé emerges with a visually questionable baby bump. Blue Ivy is born months later. We shudder at what that implies about surrogacy, coercion, and gag orders thicker than concrete. Fans recall how hospital security for the birth allegedly barred other parents from entire hallways, confiscated phones, and installed blackout curtains over windows. Why the scorched earth secrecy?
After they are done with Diddy, Jay-Z is up next to be exposed, right?
We find ourselves replaying Jaguar Wright's fearless live streams. The neo-soul firebrand sits in her car recounting industry war stories, naming names with zero hesitation. She locks eyes with the camera, voice crackling through iPhone speakers, and warns, Jay-Z worked very hard to erase you and me. She alleges not only blacklist tactics, but something darker. Intimidation of executives, quiet payoffs, hush paperwork thicker than studio walls. According to Jaguar, Blu's disappearance was the blueprint. Proof that if you stray off script, the gatekeepers have 1,000 ways to erase you without leaving fingerprints. But Blu Cantrell never went quietly. Flash forward to August 2014, Santa Monica. 2 a.m. residents call 911 after hearing a woman screaming that someone is trying to gas me. Police find Blu barefoot, disoriented, eyes wide with panic. They escort her to a medical facility for evaluation. Tabloids feast, fallen star, public breakdown, another cautionary tale. Yet some locals recall a strange odor near the scene that night. Faint chemical tang on the breeze. Did anyone test the air? Was she truly hallucinating or sounding the only alarm she could while escape routes closed in?
And I have to still say allegedly, has done things and allegedly participated in a lot of things that the public would not be happy to know.
Back in Atlanta, producers who once booked her for guest features whispered that Blu told them, long before the Santa Monica incident, that studio vents smelled funny during late-night sessions. She feared being dosed with something. We file that next to other eerie parallels. Martin Lawrence sprinting through LA traffic in 1996, yelling that people were after him. West's abrupt hospitalization moments after he called out Jay on stage. Britney Spears shaving her head amid hushed legal maneuvers. When performers try to talk, narrative managers reach for the mental break label and slam it on like a post-it. Then there's the name, Blue Ivy. Critics once chalked it up to Jay-Z's obsession with the color blue, or Beyoncé's love of floral symbolism. But fans obsessed with numerology discovered IVY mirrors the Roman numeral for 4. The couple's favorite digit, think wedding date 448. Albums titled 4 and 444 Slap the word blue in front, and suddenly every magazine headline contains a backhanded tribute to the woman who vanished. A coincidence? Or a mocking reminder that the past was safely buried? Every time we see that toddler's photo ops, we wonder whether the name hides a guilt-ridden nod to a mother forced from the spotlight.
But after that major documentary comes out on Diddy, then you're going to start to hear more and more about Jay-Z and his nefarious past.
And let's not forget the blind items that swirl around attention-starved blog comment sections. One claims a promising R&B singer discovered she was expecting Jay-Z's child and confided in a friend. Days later, she was flown to a remote luxury clinic, and legal papers thicker than textbooks sealed the outcome. Another hints at hush money funneled through a boutique law firm to ensure no unauthorized memoir will ever see print. There's no hard evidence, only overlapping whispers, but the pattern matches Blu's silent years too well for us to ignore. We pore over Blu's aborted comeback attempts. Around 2013, she teased a third album on social media. New photos, new logos, studio selfies. Then, digital tumbleweeds. We ask a former marketing rep what happened. Their eyes dart before they mutter. Clearances wouldn't go through. Distributors got cold feet. Why would a mid-tier R&B veteran suddenly be red flagged by multiple digital services? Someone up the food chain must have pressed pause. When we track corporate hierarchies, we notice subsidiaries linked back to umbrella deals where the Carter name still carries hush-hush influence.
So, as you guys are coming in that you can hear me and see me, I'm pretty sure that you can. This is some exclusive tea that I got a little while back.
As for Jay-Z, he's no stranger to controversy. Court filings accuse him of everything from illicit knife fights in Manhattan nightclubs to profiteering off questionable contracts. Headlines last winter blasted him again when a civil suit alleged a violent violation of a minor at a 2000 MTV after-party, an allegation he labeled a blackmail attempt before snarling in a statement, "No, sir, it had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion." The bravado is classic Sean Carter. Loud denials, aggressive countersuits, scorched earth PR. But behind those statements sits an empire built on airtight NDAs and high-priced attorneys ready to bulldoze any threat.
It's interesting because, you know, obviously this civil suit was coming for a while.
Yep.
And there was some talk between Busby and Jay-Z's lawyers. I think both Busby and Jay-Z's lawyers are really alphas.
Meanwhile, Beyonce's image remains Disney princess pristine. No legal spats, no public tantrums, just glossy Ivy Park shoots and surprise albums. Yet she's the common denominator in every woman mysteriously squeezed out of the R&B A-list orbit once her solo train gained momentum. Maya pivoting to indie land, Monica fighting for playlist crumbs, even Ciara struggling for radio real estate post-Single Ladies era. Coincidence theory fans might scoff, but we keep one eye on the spreadsheets. When one queen monopolizes column inches, someone else is left without ink. And still Blu's 2014 scare hangs over us. After the hospital released her, she retreated from cameras, resurfacing only occasionally on small stages in Atlantic City or at nostalgic throwback festivals. She granted one podcast interview in 2017, her voice hushed but unwavering, describing industry folks you trust who end up working the other side. She never named names. She coughed mid-sentence when asked about Beyonce's superstardom, then redirected the conversation to ownership battles over masters. The host followed up, she dodged. That gap, what she almost said, echoes louder than any chorus she ever sang.
You know, even if the accusations are false, there's two ways to go about these cases. Either one, you do the economic analysis, right? What is this going to cost me? Where is it going? How much am I going to lose? All these different things, even if it's false, right? How much are the attorneys going to?
We flit through leaked tour writers from early 2003, Blu requested room humidifiers, vocal cord vitamins, a masseuse for chronic back tension. But buried on page 3 is an oddly specific clause. All security detail to be provided by external contractors, not label personnel. Why would a new artist insist on that? Did she already mistrust the machinery surrounding her? If so, what did she fear? Unsanctioned recordings? Substances slipped into catering trays? We'll likely never know because the writers stopped by mid-2004, the year her tour evaporated. And looming behind every thread is the chilling case of Kathy White. Gossip sleuths swear she prepared to reveal an affair with Jay-Z, possibly even a hidden pregnancy, before being found lifeless in her luxury Manhattan apartment mere hours before a planned tell-all sit-down. Police ruled it an accident, but skeptics raise eyebrows at the lightning-fast close of the investigation. When a reporter tried to FOIA the case file, they received largely blacked-out pages. Is Kathy a grim footnote or another domino in a line stretching straight back to Blu?
You know, a lot of times lawsuits are like playing poker. Like even when you feign, you know, that you have strength, it could be that you have some weakness in your case. So Busby's never going to say that he doesn't have the evidence. I mean, Busby's always going to say he's got the evidence. He's always going to say, oh, we're going to look at multiple other people, we're going to do all this, because he wants to put that fear into that individual.
Jaguar Wright thinks it's the latter. During one live stream, she declared, "Every woman who stands between Beyonce and her empire has a tragic ending." Hyperbole? Maybe. Yet the body count language sends shivers, because we track industry once hopefuls who end in quiet despair, private clinics, or dusty indie releases nobody notices. Jaguar swears she won't be next. She moves with security now, broadcasts from undisclosed parking lots, and warns younger singers, keep receipts, keep backups, and never rely on one label lawyer. We remember Blu's lawyer, the double agent. Lesson learned too late. We can't shake the footage of Jay-Z and Beyonce beaming at awards shows while celeb after celeb walks on stage to thank Beyonce. It's become a meme, artists half joking that one must appease the queen or vanish. Yet behind each nervous laugh we sense real fear. Imagine being a rising star offered a choice: sing praises or risk becoming the next footnote. Blu Cantrell didn't sing praises, she sang warnings. And those warnings might be why her verses no longer spin on mainstream radio.
And here's the thing, even if the limitations ran, it doesn't stop her from filing a police report, doesn't stop her from giving a statement to the police. It still backs up some things. And don't forget, in federal court, he could still be swept up into a RICO. There could be other sorts of actions that took place over time, and all of those would relate back.
Now a different question starts haunting us at night. If Blu really did carry a child linked to Jay-Z, whether that child lives under a different name or never drew breath, could any revelations still topple a brand this entrenched? Or have the Carters already insulated themselves so fully that the truth, if it ever surfaces, would splatter only those too powerless to fight back? We watch Blue Ivy's swagger onto Grammy stages, the spitting image of her parents, and we hold our breath. Because if the rumors hold even a sliver of authenticity, each televised family cameo feels like a victory lap over ghosts no one else is allowed to mention. Blu Cantrell herself remains elusive, releasing sporadic Instagram posts, mostly sunset photos and nostalgic throwbacks. Comments beg for new music, a memoir, any confirmation. She replies with vague emojis, sometimes a prayer hands, sometimes a blue heart. No clarity, yet no denial. The unspoken roars louder with every passing year, especially now that other singers, Tayara Mari, Carrie Hilson, drop cryptic lines about politics and queen protection whenever interviewers press them on stalled mainstream dreams. We search those eyes for the same guarded sparkle we once saw in Blu's last televised performance, the sparkle that said, "I know more than I'll ever say."
And that's not the first time we've seen this tactic, and the last time it actually worked.
We may never receive a sworn affidavit or a bombshell VH1 documentary peeling back every NDA Seal chapter, yet the crumbs remain: the abrupt label exit, the eerie name overlap, the Santa Monica streetlights illuminating a barefoot panic, the baby bump that folded like origami on national TV. Each clue on its own can be dismissed. Together, they throb like an unsolved chord progression, begging resolution. And that is where we must pause. For now, because the next twist, the next confession, the next leaked contract could surface at any moment. And when it does, we will be here, ready to drag it into the fluorescents once again. Suddenly, the trail in front of us widens, and we step straight into the dim, candlelit hallways of Sean Diddy Combs' so-called freak-off extravaganzas. Those secretive nights whispered about by stylists, chauffeurs, and shaken assistants who never quite recovered. We picture velvet-roped mansions where playlists thundered till dawn, where trays of neon shots slid across marble bars, and where guests were allegedly ushered behind mirrored doors stripped of phones, bargaining power, and, most chilling, consent. When federal agents stormed Diddy's properties, they reportedly wheeled out crates marked evidence. Inside, over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and liquid lubricant, rows of recording equipment, and hours upon hours of grainy footage. What kind of party needs that much slippery inventory unless the fun and games were never meant to stay voluntary? And as we study photographs of Jay-Z smiling beside Diddy through decades of golden-soaked award seasons, we can't shake the question. Did he attend those nights, merely hear rumors, or help lock the gates?
Short win. It's really much more of a loss for the legal team of Jay-Z and Diddy.
Why would you say that? Because the judge was kind of harsh to Jay-Z and Diddy in her response?
Yeah, this is sort of like, if a child asks you for something and you're trying to like teach them a lesson, you say, no, not right now. Go be good for a little while, then come back and ask me again.
We talked to a former caterer, now refusing on-camera interviews, who remembers crates of cameras arriving right before one gathering. He claims staff were ordered to sign ND as thicker than restaurant menus, then told to vanish until dawn. Another insider, a session guitarist, lured by promises of networking, insists that no camera wristbands suddenly changed color mid-evening, granting Diddy's private videographer carte blanche to film everything. Were those recordings trophies or insurance policies? If tapes exist showing the wrong Titan in the wrong room, they could upend an entire music dynasty. We shudder because any footage of forced acts or power plays instantly crosses from scandal to criminal proof. And if certain faces appear on screen, faces married into billion-dollar branding deals, how long until that cash turns into the ultimate bargaining chip or the ultimate downfall? We follow the paper trail and find a flashpoint night, the 2000 VMA after party in New York. That gathering drips with darkness in recent civil court filings. A 13-year-old, let's call her a minor to preserve what little dignity the filing left her, claims she was scouted curbside by a limousine driver who knew what Diddy was looking for. She says she accepted a fizzy cocktail, felt woozy, and stumbled to a guest room. There, according to her sworn statement, Diddy and Jay-Z appeared, flanked by an unnamed female celebrity, and carried out a horrific violation while the others watched. Afterward, she fled half-dressed to a gas station and phoned her father. The allegations curl our stomachs, but the pattern feels eerily familiar. Lofty egos, vulnerable youth, and an iron curtain of silence slammed shut by expensive attorneys.
He's gone on to do incredible things, but he has a very specific style. And there's a lot of people who don't like that style. And Judge Torres is one of them. He's now twice kind of taken the reins and tried to take control of the narrative of cases by putting on sort of these preemptive press conferences. He did it with Mayor Adams, and he did it now with Jay-Z, where he goes to the press and essentially puts on a PowerPoint.
Jay-Z's response? Pure, scorched earth bravado. His legal team branded the filing a shakedown, then launched a countersuit accusing the lawyers of extortion. In a reaction blasted to every major outlet, Jay-Z wrote, "No, sir, it had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. Yet behind that bold font is panic, yet behind that bold font is panic. Because a minor's testimony, if deemed credible, can bulldoze even fortress-level star power. The countersuit strategy might stall headlines, but if federal prosecutors see parallels between that night and the seized tapes, the Carter name could slide from platinum plaques to courtroom docket numbers." Industry elders remind us that Jay-Z and Diddy's alliance predates glamour. Back in the mid-90s, they navigated East Coast turf wars together, swapped verses, swapped producers, through golden bottle launch parties. Through the years, they co-headlined tours, co-hosted Hamptons cottages, and even struck philanthropic photo ops when public mood demanded contrition. We've long framed them as mogul mentors for a new hip-hop blueprint. Go legit, buy art, acquire tech, yet shadows keep lengthening behind that blueprint. The moment Kim Porter, Diddy's longtime partner, was found lifeless in her LA estate, murmurs of retaliation rippled. She had reportedly been penning a memoir. A medical examiner chalked the end to pneumonia, but those close to her swear she feared incoming trouble just weeks before.
Alex Spiro doing the exact opposite thing to help his client, but the judge really didn't like it. And so all of that is to say that this ruling to me is specifically directed at Alex Spiro, saying, I don't like what you're doing. I don't like all the motions you're filing. I don't like how you're going about handling this case. And if you continue to do it, you're not the only one who's got some tricks up their sleeve. I can also do things to make this process more difficult.
Step further back and we see the looming silhouette of Christopher Wallace, Biggie Smalls, who once rode for Bad Boy Records until a hail of bullets in 1997 ended everything. That unsolved hit still floats like a ghost over Brooklyn streets, and some conspiracy hunters swear Biggie was poised to leave the label after discovering management secrets. We're not here to solve that cold file, but we notice a grim pattern. Influential voices near Diddy drift toward premature silence. Add the mysterious demise of rising bodyguard Uncle Ron, who tossed allegations toward both Diddy and Beyonce before meeting his own sudden fate, and the room temperature drops another degree. The glitziest symbol of Diddy's clout, the legendary East Hampton white parties, now looks less like an invitation-only gala and more like a forensic puzzle. Those themed nights, brimmed with A-listers spanning Hollywood, fashion, and Silicon Valley, Beyonce and Jay-Z among them, decked in ivory linen, toasting next to crystal bowls of sea salt caviar. Yet lawsuits filed this spring accuse the very first white party of harboring an underage attendee, groomed and assaulted in a back cabana. That suit calls the bash a facade for sinister conduct, a phrase that stays with us whenever we watch archival footage of celebrities beaming at the lens. Were they blissfully unaware or willingly complicit? And if Jay-Z lingers in those crowd shots, arms around Diddy's shoulders, does that frame become Exhibit A if prosecutors connect the freak-off tapes to white party guest lists?
Currently is balancing the public's need for information and the defense's need for information so they can prepare for trial versus the effect that this will have on the alleged victim and her psyche. And obviously the world knows that as soon as her name is revealed, everyone is going to come down on her, from the media to her, to his attorneys, to the social media. You're going to get it from all sides.
We scanned the FBI affidavit line that made even hardened reporters gag. 1,018 bottles of baby oil and lubricant seized. Who stocks over 1,000 units unless they're running a pipeline of events? Each one recorded, each guest filed away. Think about the leverage contained in that storage closet. If Diddy kept a catalog of compromising footage, the possibility of blackmail leaps from Hollywood rumor to terrifying probability. Which executives, athletes, or yes, rival rappers might watch sleepless nights hoping those drives never surface? Could that library contain the Carter patriarch in incriminating proximity? And if so, how long until someone trades it for immunity? Legal analysts predict a snowball of testimonies. Since Cassandra Cassie Ventura settled her explosive suit, more than 120 hopeful plaintiffs have contacted the same attorney. Some allege they were minors when lured into substance-laced limousines bound for studio lofts. Others claim hush money payments disguised as consulting fees. All share a common thread: fear that speaking up would trigger career ruin or something far worse. Those fears were unfounded. One backing vocalist remembers being dropped from a European tour within 24 hours of confiding her concerns to management. Another says she woke to find a cease and desist shoved beneath her apartment door after merely hinting at a tell-all podcast cameo. That's not coincidence. That's an ecosystem weaponized against truth.
It's obviously getting a whole new wave of attention and more focused attention on this victim. So I think it's going to be tied to the media cycle, if I had to guess, and how these rulings continue. And they have this celebrity name that is sort of waiting to take over the headlines when they choose to release it. So I think it will be added, but it's going to be a strategic time.
Where does Jay-Z sit in this storm? Publicly, he is still the art-collecting philanthropist who champions criminal justice reform, mentors NFL deals, and partners with tech giants. Yet we keep catching glimpses of nervous chess moves, sudden business restructuring, estate trusts shuffled, longtime advisors quietly retiring. There's buzz that contingency shells are being formed offshore, just in case. And Beyoncé, usually the unflappable queen, posted a strangely opaque caption celebrating loyalty in the face of chaos, then deleted it within minutes. Fans screenshot it anyway. We can't decide whether it was shade, warning, or simple late-night anxiety, but the digital footprint remains. We read Jay-Z's blunt open letter about the civil assault allegations. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away, would you not agree? On the surface, it's righteous indignation. Underneath, it might be coded deflection. If you really believe I'm guilty, take it to criminal court. Except the FBI is now involved, and if they link timelines, the after-party assault, the white party allegations, the tapes, they might just do exactly that. We can't ignore how swiftly the Carters' legal squad demanded the accuser unmask her identity. That maneuver isn't just about facing accusers, it's about scaring off anyone else thinking of stepping forward. Power flexes like that reveal more than they hide. Music historians remind us of the old rule. Scandals condense sales, but criminal convictions shatter empires. If prosecutors stitch a coherent conspiracy from Biggie's final ride to Kim Porter's last cough, from warehouse baby oil inventories to a miner's lifeline call, the resulting case would dwarf any entertainment scandal we've ever documented. Think of the money on the line: streaming catalogs worth billions of dollars, joint ventures with Fortune 500 titans, sports management contracts, film studios, beverage empires. Shareholders don't care about loyalty, they care about liability. They will pull out quicker than a paparazzo bolts from incoming security guards.
And it was just shocking to me, and I said, no, actually my son is a CEO. She didn't think of him as a...
Every phone ping we receive now feels electric because industry whispers say a superseding indictment could drop any week. If that document names both Diddy and Jay-Z in a racketeering sweep, we're looking at a page one disaster. Attorneys familiar with the RICO framework believe prosecutors may argue that these two moguls created parallel enterprises, Bad Boy and Rock Nation, yet cross-pollinated wrongdoing, shielding each other with joint events, talent swaps, and mutual silence. Imagine the FBI presenting a flowchart of freak-off guest lists, white party financial statements, backstage passes at the VMAs, and Blu Cantrell's supposed hush contract, all converging on one axis: shared intent to exploit, record, and silence. We stare at the flickering skyline from our office window and wonder what happens when star power finally collides with cold federal warrants. Do we get televised perp walks? Do Do streaming platforms pull catalogs overnight, or do gilded lawyers negotiate behind velvet curtains while the public devours curated apology notes? And as new claimants queue up, each braver than the last, the domino effect could bring down not just two icons, but an entire generation of enablers, promoters, stylists, venue owners who cashed checks and said nothing.
At that time, I remember thinking, I can't be mad at her because that is what the media portrayed.
The clock is ticking. One former executive tells us off the record that he's been contacted by investigators about a mysterious hard drive believed to be in a Manhattan safety deposit box registered to an S. Carter trust. If that hardware holds even 5 minutes of illegal footage, the fallout would make the recent streaming platform purges look like light housekeeping. Meanwhile, insiders claim Diddy spends his days in federal holding drafting names and dates for a possible cooperation deal. If faced with decades behind bars, might he trade every last secret, including whatever incriminating lenses captured Jay-Z for a reduced sentence? The calculus is brutal. But so is self-preservation. And now we glance at the plush red carpets of upcoming award season, a season that may never look the same. Will broadcasters still roll out golden-colored runways for men whose legal shadows stretch longer than their trophy resumes? Or will we witness performers quietly distancing themselves, rewriting verses, Yankee collaborations from streaming services? Already, 2 pop divas have delayed duet releases, rumored to feature archival Diddy ad-libs. One global sports brand just re-evaluated its Jay-Z mentorship campaign. The dominoes haven't crashed yet, but they're swaying like chandeliers in a fault line tremor.
I sat there and I thought about how the media portrays Black men and how that is typical of the things that they would focus on.
So where does that leave us tonight? On the verge of a cultural reckoning that might strip the gloss off every feel-good streaming playlist, every stadium anthem, every backstage handshake once praised as legendary synergy. We stand at the threshold, watching floodgates groan. And if the next affidavit or leaked clip confirms even a fraction of these rumors, we could be staring at the implosion of 2 gilded thrones, an empire built on platinum records and another on call-and-response chants, both possibly balancing on a foundation of silenced cries and locked vaults. We suspect the truth is hovering just inches away, trembling like a chandelier about to crash. And we'll be here, ears to the walls, waiting for that final snap of crystal and wire. Because once it falls, no NDA, no private settlement, and no carefully curated family image will be able to sweep those shards under the Persian rug.
Uneducated gangster rapper, that's all she could call.
So tell us, when the tapes spill and the headlines erupt, will fans forgive, or will we all finally pull the plug on our playlists and demand real justice? Let us know your wildest theory in the comments. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next jaw drop, and keep your flashlights ready, because the midnight quarters of fame are only getting darker from here. Stay brave, stay curious, and we'll see you on the other side.